Okay, so today we're going to talk a little bit about least common multiple. All right? Before you can talk about and find the least common multiples, you have to understand what a multiple is. Now, what I've learned with working with my son and with kids, multiples and factors are always mixed up. The kids mix up what a multiple and a factor is. Okay? A multiple is formed by multiplying a given number by the counting number. Okay, so you take a counting number, you multiply it by another counting number, and you get a multiple. Can anybody think of another name we call those? A product. Every product is a multiple of the two factors. So two factors equal a multiple. Okay? One thing I like to remember when you're finding multiple, you are multiplying numbers, and your answer is a multiple. So write that down in your notes. Some way you can differentiate multiple and fractions from each other. All right, so multiples are what you get when you take a number times another number. That becomes a multiple of that number. For example, if you have 4 times 1 equals 4, the multiples of 4 are, so 4 is what we're trying to find multiples of. If I do 4 times 1 equals 4, 4 becomes a multiple. Okay? Okay? 4 is a multiple. So, if I'm finding the multiples of 4, I times it by 1. My product is 4. 4 is therefore a multiple of 4. Take my 4, I times it by 2. I get 8. 8, therefore, is a multiple of 4. If I take 4 times 3, I get 12. 12 is a multiple of 4. Same thing. If I take 4 and I multiply it by any number, the product I get becomes a multiple of 4. Yes?
So a multiple is also a multiple of itself, because if you take 4 times 1, right up there is 4. Say like 8 is a multiple of 8. You can 8 times 1 is 8.
No. Yes. 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 Each number is a multiple of itself because you can multiply it by 1. So that becomes a multiple of itself. So when you're finding multiples, like if you're finding multiples of 16, your very first multiple should be 16. That's always going to be the first one you find. Okay? All right. So what are the first 5 multiples of 13? Well, 13 times 1 is 13. 13 times 2 is 26. 13 times 3 is 39. So the multiples of 13 are 13, 26, 39, 52, 65. Yes?
So would 0 be a multiple of a number?
No. Counting number. 0 is not a counting number. 1 is a counting number. Okay? Different numbers have different classification, and 0 is not a counting number. Yes?
Are you going to explain?
I will explain the counting numbers, yes. Okay, so here you had to find the missing multiples, and they found them for us. So 6 times 1 is 6, 6 times 2 is 12, 6 times 3 is 18, 6 times 4 is 24, 6 times 5 is 30. So when you're finding multiples, just in your head. So if this is 6, what do you think was here? 3. It's also counting by 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18. Okay? So it's just like multiplying. Counting by that number is the same as multiplying. So multiples are that. Okay? When when multiples really start coming into play is when you're trying to find the least common multiple. So this is where you have to kind of look at the numbers. We know what a multiple is. You are finding the least, and least means what? Lowest, smallest. Yep. And what does common mean? Nope. Common. If Katrina and I have something in common, it means we have something that's the same or alike. Common means same or alike. You are trying to find a multiple that is the same between two numbers and the least of them. Okay? So the least common multiple is the smallest number that is common between two lists of multiples. Okay? So, for example, if you're trying to find, and it's abbreviated LCM. When you see LCM, it's least common multiple. LCM is least common multiple. So when you're trying to find the least common multiple of 12 and 18, what you do is you start with one of the numbers, and you find all the multiples. Okay? Now, it'd be really easy to find a multiple of 12 and 18, because what would you just do? Multiply them. If you multiply 12 by 18, the answer you get is a multiple. But you want the least common. So you start with 12. 12 times 1 is 12. 12 times 2 is 24. 12 times 3 is 36. 12 times 4, 12 times 5, 60. And generally, it's good to go 5 numbers out. I mean, that's a good starting point. So do 5 of the first, 5 of the second. And then you look and you say, are there any in common? Are there any in common, Nick? 36 is in common. Is that the smallest, the least number in common? That's your least common multiple. Because it's the lowest number that is in common between both numbers. Okay? So what you see here is how you can also list it. So this is like what you saw. So you would, and generally you would put the 12 in front and do the colon so you know what number you're finding the multiples. You list your multiples up. I like to circle both to indicate that they're matching. That is the least common multiple of 12 and 18. So that's another way to write it. That's generally, I mean, you can do it either way. This will be less space, so you could write it like this. All right, so, okay, so let's say we're trying to find the least common multiple of 9 and 10. So you find all the multiples of 9, and here you started with 5, and this is like what I recommended, start with 5, because you don't want to do too many. And you notice even after 5, what happens? Do we have a common multiple? No. Then start adding more in. When we do 2 more, we then find a common multiple. Okay? So in here it happens to be 90. So start with 5, because if it's the first or second or third, you don't want to have found 15 multiples. Okay? Start with 5 and then add on. Go further if you can't find one, a little bit at a time. Okay? Okay, so on this one, finding the least common multiple of 4 and 12. One thing I want you to notice is here they stopped. But if I kept going, I would have 4, 8, 12. So 4 times 1, 4 times 2, 4 times 3. What's 4 times 4? 16. 4 times 5. 4 times 6. 24. Okay? You will notice on here that there are 2 common multiples. 24 and 24 are common. They're the same. 12 and 12 are common. They're the same. Have to remember, you are looking for the least. Yes? It does not matter.
Okay.
The distance between doesn't matter. It's that they're exactly the same. Okay? It's the least common multiple. 12 is a common multiple. 24 is a common multiple. If we keep going, there's going to be another common multiple. It's going to be, what's 12 times 3? 36. 36 is going to be a common multiple. You'll find several common multiples as you go. I mean, if we kept going, you would find a lot. Yes, I will. I have it almost done now.